Madam Speaker, I rise to support this report by the Senate Sessional Committee on Delegated Legislation, the report on the consideration of the Public Finance Management Equalization Fund, Administration Regulation 2021. Madam Speaker, I've listened keenly to the submission by my good friend, Senator Sakaja. And Madam Speaker, I'm a firm believer that neglect by national government of the slums area is not tantamount to marginalization. What is happening, Madam Speaker, in Nairobi County is that the national government has neglected areas which were supposed to be able to develop. Madam Speaker, Article 204 is very, very clear in terms of marginalization, in terms of on how this policy...
Senator, just 1 minute. Senator Sakaja.
Madam Speaker, I know it takes two to tango, so I will do what they've done. Madam Speaker, is it in order for Senator Ledama to mislead this House that there's a difference between neglect in what I'm talking about, that the national government and the county government have neglected Nairobi, but what we're dealing about in equalization is different. Madam Speaker, when Article 204 of the Constitution talks about areas that have been left behind in terms of access, it's because of neglect. It's because in the last governments we had from independence, they decided that this northern frontier, especially counties, should sort themselves out. But the national government focused on what they call productive, sessional paper of number 1 of 1965. That was neglect. The fact that schools were not built in the arid areas, that was neglect. The fact that water was not there, electricity, that was neglect. So the neglect people of Nairobi have gone through as well is the same as the neglect that has made sure Marsabit County does not have access to services as Narok County, for instance, or any other county, Madam Speaker. So is it in order to mislead the House that there's a difference on what the poor of Nairobi have gone through compared to what the poor of Garissa have gone through, Madam Speaker?
Senator, are you in order?
Speaker, I believe I'm definitely in order, because I think Article 204 is quite clear. And anyone who can read it can be able to differentiate between poverty and marginalization. Madam Speaker, on a daily basis in urban areas like Nairobi, Soweto, in South Africa, slums are mushrooming every now and then. That is because of the rural-urban migration. But the fact that areas have been marginalized, it's quite clear. When you read the Constitution, it is not the Constitution that says that choose areas which have been left behind. When you go to Marsabit today, Madam Speaker, I was in Marsabit a few months ago, you'd be shocked. People do not have electricity. Equalization Fund talks about electricity. People do not have water. Equalization Fund talks about water. People do not have, they don't have roads. In Nairobi, the expressway, people in Nairobi benefit from the expressway. Madam Speaker. Madam Speaker, this is an issue of looking at the country and looking at areas that have been marginalized, areas that have been left behind, that do not have any access to these basic services. Madam Speaker, since this fund was established, one thing which shocked me is that even the Serem Commission at first did not allocate any money. There's about 7.4 billion shillings which was not allocated. Right now, that fund has over 51 billion shillings. This Senate is supposed to be able to unlock those funds. I agree with the courts that if the regulations were not gazetted, if the process was not clear, the Parliament should be able to unlock those funds. We are now discussing about how do we unlock these funds. Madam Speaker, I'd be lying to you and to Kenyans if I stand here and I say I do not want Narok County to get the 2.1 billion, which has been locked by the court ruling since someone went and stopped this money from going to counties and helping our people. Madam Speaker, if you look at, I'm looking for my notes. Sorry, Madam Speaker. Madam Speaker, I'm sorry, I was just a bit rattled because I know how painful this is. I know how people are living in destitute poverty. If you go to Marsabit, if you go to Narok County, if you go to Kajiado, and not the entire county, in urban areas, it is the county governments and national governments that neglect, because the amount of money we allocate to counties and the amount of money which Nairobi County or cities actually are allocated by national government, you know, it's a lot compared to what other people from Isiolo should be getting. So, Madam Speaker, I really would like to beseech each one of us here to approve these regulations so that, number one, those projects which were carried out by Kenyans and were not paid for can be paid. Madam Speaker, if you look at the figures, number one, Narok County was supposed to receive about 760 million during the first policy. That money, not all the full amount was utilized in Narok County. And if that money was utilized, those people who carried out, those people who built hospitals, those people who sank boreholes, those people who built roads, they were never paid. Those are Kenyans. They are business people who are trying to win tenders so that they can proceed. Number two, the second policy, Madam Speaker, was supposed to give Narok County about 1 billion shillings. I'll be happy if a child in Mosiro has electricity. I'll be happy if a child in Mosiro has access to drinking water. But that child is not having access to that drinking water because we are now trying to differentiate between poverty and marginalization. No, I don't subscribe to the school of thought that people should be poor. But if you live in a slum area, it is the national government and the county government which should be ensuring that you've got those basic services. Madam Speaker, if you get on the road now and you go to some parts in Kajiado County, Kajiado West, a place which is supposed to take you 2 hours, it will take you 8 hours. Those people are marginalized. They have no access to anything. So should we be arguing here and say that a city like Nairobi, for instance, Madam Speaker, which in the last 1 year, there have been about 6 or 7 new hospitals that have been opened by the president at night. Those people can be able to go to those hospitals. Did we send money? Did we allocate any money for those hospitals to be built? No. And that is why the framers of the Constitution really thought about those people who may not have that influence, who may not have an influence to be able to win a tender. That money is set aside for them so that they can be able to get those services. When I read this Constitution, I'm happy that it talks about delegations, 24 delegations to be able to approve this. I want to speak to all the senators, and I want to beseech my good friend Sakaja, that yes, I hear you and I feel your pain. I feel the pain of Mama Mboga. I feel the pain of a child who wakes up every single morning in flying toilets. But I also want you to feel the pain of a young woman who lives somewhere down in Kitui where no access to roads, has got to go to school, no water. You know, every single day, Madam Speaker, we are called upon by our citizens to build water pans for them. We don't have any money allocated to us as senators. But you end up selling your cows so that you can put up a water pan for people in Kilgoris because they are marginalized, number one, and also because they have somehow the shareable revenue which has been given to Narok County is not enough to be able to build water pans everywhere, because when you go to the second policy on marginalization, that small community would have gotten a water pan or a dispensary. Madam Speaker, if you look at even the Ministry of Health policy, in terms of where a dispensary should be built, you'd be shocked. You have to have about 10,000 people, 5,000 people for you to have a level 1 hospital. Where are you going to get those people in Mosiro? Where are you going to get those people in Dukamoja? In all those sides of Narosura? You can't. So, Madam Speaker, I think it's about time that instead of us behaving like we should be setting up a sinking fund or putting money where it does not even earn interest, for us to unlock these funds, to support those people for 3 reasons. One, those people who worked. I've met with so many people, Madam Speaker, who spent their own money to build beautiful health facilities. They're like white big elephants projects now. And they were never paid anything. I left with a lady came to see me in my home the other day and said, please, Senator, I request that I took a loan. Please go and approve those regulations so that I can be paid my money. What is the point of us setting aside money as per the Constitution? 20 years since 2011 will soon lapse. And then what happens? Those people who put all their money in projects for the national government do not get paid? What is the point of us saying we have a constitution which is a living document that says set money aside to develop these areas, but then we continue bickering here and arguing, and then those people don't benefit? I think, Madam Speaker, I would like to request my colleagues that instead of even coming up with another formula or another policy, we extend the second generation policy, because even those people who are supposed to have benefited from the onset never benefited. If we are able to extend this second policy, you know we'll be unlocking a lot of money. In fact, Madam Speaker, if my figures are right, I hope I've written them somewhere I can see now. We're looking at about unlocking another 11 billion shillings. We had the first one was about 7.6 billion, which was never spent, which was never allocated. And then we have about, I don't know where I wrote that number. So in total, Madam Speaker, because I'm really passionate about this thing and I don't want to miss my point, we have 51 billion shillings lying somewhere. We have Kenyans, hardworking men and women, who have spent their money, their savings, taken loans, had their houses auctioned, had their vehicle auctioned, because we in this House of Parliament could not be able to pass regulations, could not be able to unlock this stalemate. It is about time that we now start thinking about our economy. People talk about taxation being the cause of all our problems every single day. Should we leave this to the courts to be deciding for us? Madam Speaker, yesterday everybody was happy in the street saying, finally, the courts have seen the pain that we are going through as Kenyans. When they put a stop on KRA from now amending the, introducing the excise tax on petroleum product, that helped Kenyans. Now, let's think about the children of those contractors. Let's think about those areas which could be benefiting. Madam Speaker, if I take you to Narok, I'll show you buildings which were built about 4 or 5 years ago, and they're still staying idle because of that court case, because we have not been able to agree to release this money. I know last year Sakaja did a fantastic job, and I really, Senator Sakaja, the distinguished Senator Sakaja, originally from Narok, but lives in, in Nairobi, but also has got some roots in where? In Western Kenya. He came into the rescue of counties like my county, which was losing about 1.5 billion. And now, I can say thank you, my brother Sakaja. But I want you to put yourself in the position of that small child that you supported that time, or a child who you supported who is in Wajir County, who has got no hope of tomorrow, and release this money for them to be given that money. And I'm not saying that you are not concerned about that child in Wajir. Let me just finish. There's no point of
What's your point
order.
of order, Senator Sakaja, and start by quotation?
Madam Speaker.
You advised me, now I'm advising you.
Sorry?
You advised me to be insisting on,
Yes.
yes, now you can take the cue.
I will give you the standing order 72, Madam Speaker.
That's good.
Please give me a copy. Just, if the clerk can pass me the copy, I shall give you the standing order.
Yeah, I don't know what happened. We don't have, the
Yeah.
standing orders are nowhere in this house. The Constitution missing
Sorry, not
everywhere.
72.
Yeah.
Sorry, Madam Speaker, not 72. It's standing order 115, irrelevance. Madam Speaker, is the Senator for Narok truly being relevant by trying to, first of all, mislead the House that I have anything against those children from those counties who are gaining, by saying that Nairobi children should also be included? Madam Speaker, if you listen to my submissions, I finished by saying a candle does not lose its light by lighting another candle. The same way I stood for all your counties, the same way you must also remember the poor and the marginalized in Nairobi who are not accessing that sanitation, that electricity, hence the fires in Mathare slums every 2 weeks, who are not being able to access water, healthcare, and sanitation. That is the point I'm making, Madam Speaker. So is it in order to personalize it, that there's somebody in this house who does not care about the poor in Wajir or Garissa? Madam Speaker, if there's someone who's paid the political cost for caring for the people from your counties, it is me, Madam Speaker. And that is in the record, anyone can see it, Madam Speaker, 10 times, including arrests, including intimidation, including banners and billboards being put against. I care about the whole of this country. But it also means I care as well for my people in Nairobi, Madam Speaker.
Senator Olekina, I hope you've noted the concern of
Yes.
Senator Sakaja.
Yes, Madam Speaker, I've surely noted the concerns of my good friend, Senator Sakaja. And let me state it here for the record. Senator Sakaja cares about all the children in this country. I just want him to understand that I'm not saying that he doesn't care. I just want him to distinguish between being marginalized and being poor. You could live in somewhere in Nairobi, even in Lavington, and you're poor. You're not marginalized. You can get access to clean water. The issue is very clear, Madam Speaker. Urban areas have access to other services that marginalized areas do not have access to those services. Urban areas have access to good roads that Narok County does not have access to those good roads. Or children in Narok County in poor, remote areas do not have access to them. Madam Speaker, when you listen to the people of Narok on a daily basis, they only come and ask you for 3 things, Madam Speaker. 1, please, water. 2, please, a good road. Number 3, Madam Speaker, a hospital. This is what this marginalization means. This is what the framers of the Constitution had in mind when they set aside a percentage of all the money appropriated on each financial year to be used for equalization, to allow these areas which were historically left behind to be able to slowly catch up. I'll be happy, Madam Speaker, if one day I have 3 roads to get to Narok, so that I don't get stuck at escarpment and spend 2 days there because there's only 1 road to Narok. Madam Speaker, I'll be so happy when I go to a place in Anaibor Hajijik, in Narok, and I get clean water. I'll be so happy, Madam Speaker, if I stop my frequent visits to the PS Energy to request him to give electricity to people of Nasamblai, because there's no electricity. I'll be so happy, Madam Speaker, if I stop my frequent visits to REA to request them to take electricity to Kilgoris, because we'll be able to do. If you live in Nairobi, Madam Speaker, if you bring a child from those areas to Nairobi, they'll think they're in heaven. Because everything here is different. Okay? And when it comes to the issue of Dandora, and I know my friend, I only have 2 more minutes to go. So let me finish. But if he has a point of order, Madam Speaker, should I continue? Yeah, exactly. Let me try to finalize it, Madam Speaker. Madam Speaker, there is 7.6 billion which was not allocated. I hope that I can convince Sakaja, Senator Sakaja, the distinguished senator, to agree to approve and support these regulations. Senator Faki has done a fantastic job. Just 2 weeks ago, he brought in another report which was very good, that is saving this country. Number 2, there is 12.4 billion which was allocated. Only about 900 of that million was spent. The other is money which is pending bills. And now, out of that, if you deduct the 20 billion, there is about 30-something billion which is just lying idle.
Senator Sakaja, what's your point of order?
Madam Speaker, is the Senator for Narok in order to keep misleading the House in defining what marginalized is? Madam Speaker, this statement of marginalization is not poverty. Poverty is a result of marginalization. That's what poverty is. The dictionary defines marginalized: a person or group or concept treated as insignificant or peripheral. Those people who've been living in abject poverty in the slums of Nairobi have been treated as insignificant or peripheral. But beyond the dictionary, the Constitution defines what marginalized is. And it says, Madam Speaker, in Article 260, that marginalized group, in fact, it starts with marginalized community, yeah? It talks about one, the community that because of its size or for any other reason has been unable to fully participate in the integrated social and economic life of this country. There are many of those in Nairobi, including the Nubians in Kibra, many. The Oromos in Kiamaiko and the Boranas, those are also marginalized. Number two, a traditional community, and Senator Wako knows them. I was with them just last week. They're marginalized. They have never been, brought up to speed. Number two is a traditional community that, out of a need of desire, preserved its unique culture. But marginalized a group, Madam Speaker, says about a group of people who, because of laws or practices before on, after the effective date, were or are disadvantaged by discrimination on one or more of those grounds. Madam Speaker, there are groups in this city that, Madam Speaker, have been discriminated even because of their ethnicity from development. It is there. Madam Speaker, if you go to Kibra, many successive governments in this country have ignored those people because of being politically incorrect. They're also marginalized. If you go to, and you know what I'm talking about. So please, let us, it is not a race to the bottom, Madam Speaker. We're not trying to see whose poverty is worse. I'm saying Nairobi must be included. I'm not saying Narok should be removed. So why do you have a problem with Nairobi? When I say Nairobi should be added, what do you have a problem with Nairobi?
I think
and my vote, Madam Speaker, is only one vote.
The point is not
the regulations will be passed. You'll have 24 votes. You'll pass it, but I'll vote no. So don't try to convince me. Talk to other senators, not Sakaja.
Yeah, Senator, I think I would, no, there's no problem. If your time is eaten, it will be given to you. But I would like to advise Senator, all of us, that whichever way of the coin that you are supporting, just try your best to galvanize enough members to reject or to accept the report. That would help us. But let us give members time to debate. Senator Olekina, kindly finish. I think now you have only 1 minute, if not half.
I have 5 minutes, Madam Speaker. I've been stopped 5 times.
No, you see, you
How many minutes?
You have the yellow light.
Okay. But, Madam Speaker, I'll try to, I have a lot of respect for Senator Sakaja, but I think Senator Sakaja, because he asked if I was in order to continue misleading this House, there's a difference between marginalized poor and marginalized and poverty. You know, even when you read the dictionary, it is very clear. You could be living, I'm not saying people who live in Narok, I'm not saying that people who live in Narok are poor, but they are marginalized. They are capable of making a good living if the state, which they pay taxes for, and the Constitution has set money aside for them to have good roads and access to clean water, they are provided. Okay, so Madam Speaker, and and I'll take that. If I don't have to change your mind, but the facts are stubborn. The issue is, what we are doing is that we are dilly-dallying. It's about time for us to continue being progressive. And the only time that we can become progressive, Madam Speaker, is if we have a sunset clause and we act towards making sure that whatever has a sunset clause, it does not lapse when we do not actualize what the framers of the Constitution had in mind. Madam Speaker, I want to finalize by saying this. I'm very happy with the work being done by the Delegated Legislation Committee because they are making sure that all these regulations, and there are so many of them, which will have to come here to this House, they are scrutinized. We make sure that every policy that comes here, we scrutinize. Now, let us go and unlock this money. I want to beseech all the senators, not only from the marginalized counties, but all senators, just the way we stood together and we showed this country that we care for them. We unlock these funds. Because even if you live in Nairobi, your grandmother or your mother lives in the rural area, you can get access to clean water here, but your mother does not get access to clean water. Your mother has got no access to a good road. You know, sometimes when you go and see your mother, Madam Speaker, she'll give you potatoes, she'll give you maize, green beans, you know, but she'll only have to wait to give you when you go there. She wants to be able to give you those, you know, to send you by road at any given times. I think the national government and the county government should stop neglecting slums. You know, I know just a few years ago, Nairobi County was given a lot of money to upgrade Kibera slums. But corruption came in the way. And people, instead of upgrading the slums, they ended up taking the money for themselves. Let us not, let us not confuse neglect and being marginalized. Our people are marginalized, and I think this is an opportunity for us to show this country that we care about every part of this country getting access to clean water, getting access to good hospitals, getting access to good roads, so that we can all develop and we can be able to live our dream. If there's anything like a Kenyan dream. Madam Speaker, I support.
That was a good one.